Okay, hello, Zac Locke. Tell people out there why they will like your directorial debut, Float, or hashtag Float. I'm not sure what to call it.
I think we can call it float and
Okay.
reading hashtag float. Yeah. Um, well, it's a horror movie set on a lazy river trip. So I
Hmm,
think
hmm,
we've all been on lazy river trips. We all
hmm.
know they can be really fun. And we all know that usually everything that can go wrong usually does. So I kind of took the horror logical extreme on
Hmm.
this one. And so I think that anyone who's been on a lazy river trip or been on or near a river or anywhere in the woods is gonna recognize this, or even has just been on a friend trip together
Oh
is
yeah.
gonna recognize a lot in here and appreciate it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Like you start off as like, oh, so and so, I haven't seen them in X, Y, and Z years, and this is gonna be great. And then
Yeah,
it's like, and then it is great, and then it's also sort of horrible too.
exactly.
It's
I
a
mean,
spectrum. Yeah.
it is. It's I always say that the scariest thing out there are other people. And it's kind of true when you go on a friend group trip. There are always the dynamics that come into play. A lot of old kind of beefs seem to get brought to the surface, and in in this case, chaos ensues.
Okay, so you've been in the game for a little bit. You've been in the film
Yeah,
industry for a while, but this is your directorial debut. When I read the news that you were directing a movie, I was, oh, that's interesting. But it leads into the question, after all this time, why did you decide to direct a movie?
yeah. It was kind of by accident, to be honest. It was not
Okay,
something I always said I wanted to do when I grew up.
right.
I always loved working with directors. I always loved supporting directors' missions. Kind of doing. I come from the Jason Blum School of Producing because I grew up at Blumhouse, which is give the director everything that they need to succeed and get out of their way. So, I loved doing that. I love being behind the scenes. My producer on this one, Mike Taylor, had an idea for a horror movie set on a lazy river trip. That was kind of it was his wife actually, and that was kind of it. And so I just kind of wrote the treatment, and he was like, "Cool, this is cool." So I just wrote a short, kind of 40-page version of the script, and he was like, "Yeah, this is cool." So I wrote the script, and he was like, "Yeah, this is cool." And then we never really we didn't have a conversation about it, to be honest, who was going to direct it, because
No.
I had just kind of been with the project for so long, and I started thinking of people that could be in it and places we could do it and things like that. It just kind of naturally led to it would be strange to pass it off to somebody else at that point, because I was just so intimate with the material. I had created the material and had an idea for how we were gonna make the thing. I ended up loving it a lot more than I thought I would. The hardest thing to do was to take off the producer hat,
Mm.
because that is what I'm used to doing. That's what I had been doing on Float all the way up until production. But it turned out that I just really loved working with actors. Um,
Mm.
that was my favorite part. And I think you'll see in Float that although it is a fun, bloody slasher horror film, I do kind of delve deep with the actors. There are some actual stakes, there are some actual emotions. We kind of like delve into a lot of different things from, young parenthood to loss to drugs and suicide to
Mm.
like to friend dynamics like we spoke about. So
Mm.
for me, doing that was the most rewarding part.
Would you say that talking to actors is like the most important thing to do as a director?
We gotta You gotta do it all, right?
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
just know kind of after this first film, and I've since directed a short, and I have another feature film in pre-production,
Oh my
which we can
God.
talk about. But you kind of have to know it all. But I think you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are as well. I
Hmm.
come from the producing side. I've always been a writer, not
Hmm.
scripts, but I've always been a writer of short stories and novels and nonfiction and everything. So I come from that side of it. So that is more my strength, motivation and emotion and that stuff. I don't come from a technical side, so I knew that was my weakness.
Mhm.
Um, and you have to still know it. You
Mhm.
can't, you have to know everything, but having great partners is good. My director of photography, Alex Simon, was really crucial in managing that whole all of the lighting and all of the even helping with blocking, realizing areas that I was deficient in. Obviously, after going through boot camp of doing your first feature, you feel a little more confident the next time around, and the next time and the next time. But yeah, it seemed to be a strength, and I more naturally gravitated to like the human aspect of it rather than the technical. But you got to do it all.
Cool. What is your favorite thing about Float?
Oh, my favorite thing is that you hopefully leave with a smile on your face, even though
Ah.
you've seen some horrific things happening. I think I'm okay with kind of any type of movie as long as it is entertaining.
Mhm.
And I think the one cardinal sin for any film is to be boring. So that was kind of my one goal setting out, is like I have to kind of put my money where my mouth is. And if I'm gonna go out with that unifying theory of film, I'm gonna have to do it myself. So my favorite thing is I don't think it's boring. I think it's a lot of fun. We had fun making it. I had fun editing it and doing all the post process. And so far, it feels like, although we're about to unleash it upon like a wider audience, it feels like it's been pretty fun for people to watch. And so that's my favorite thing about it.
Okay, which term do you prefer describing this movie? Mystical horror or folk horror?
Ooh, you're the first person that has asked about folk horror.
Yeah.
But I definitely see the connection, especially, Deliverance was obviously
Mm,
a big influence on this film, which I would definitely like. That is kind of like folk horror, I would say. Um,
okay.
Mystic or folk? Um, it is kind of folky. It is kind of
Yeah.
folky. I mean,
It's interesting to see the connection. That
yeah.
it's cool that I'm the first one to ask that. I'm gonna get a tattoo saying that.
Yeah, it is kind of folky. I mean, I there is a large kind of folk aspect of it that may or may not be a red herring, so I don't want to get too
Yeah,
into it.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, but and there is like a mystic aspect of it too that may
yeah.
or may not be a red herring. So it's
Mm.
I think it could go both ways. But I'll go with folk horror if I have to pick
Okay,
between the two. Yeah.
cool. Without like spelling out those things that we don't want to spell out, there's one particular character who has, let's just say, like a kind of a trancy performance, a little strange. And it really evolves. Tell me about coaching that out of that particular actor.
Yeah, you're talking about Creepy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so um Creepy was great. So Creepy was supposed to have a smaller, even smaller role.
Oh,
But
I'm
as
glad he
we
didn't.
went, yeah, as we went, he was just so chilling that I had to keep expanding it as we went. So
Mhm.
that actually came from him. So this is the typical old man who warns the kids not to float the river, or else bad things will happen. And they disregard him. They float the river anyways, and bad things start to happen. Right? There are some more twists and turns as it goes, but that's the basic premise and setup. What he decided is, look, I am why do I care so much if they're on the river or not? Why am I going for this? And what he came to is like, I am like an extremist, like any kind of extremist and any kind of person who is a fundamentalist who just believes in something so hard that I'm going to go to the ends of earth to prove it, even if it harms other people. So, like it could be, anything from, somebody like a suicide bomber would do, or like somebody, like firebombing an abortion clinic or something. You believe in, life so much you're willing to end life, right? So like I feel like he came to it with that kind of like cold, calculating mentality, but it's just like it's also very fiery inside.
Mm.
So that was a decision he made, actually himself. And I helped him what did I do? I helped him not have a Southern accent because he would sometimes kind of like, I love his kind of monotone performance, like you said,
Mhm.
transient performance. And sometimes that would delve into like kind of the Deliverance Southern thing, and we would kind of
Mhm.
bring it back to, okay, this is in Northern California. So that's
Right.
really all I did, is keep he decided where to throw the bowling ball, and I was just kind of like the bumpers on
Mhm.
the side, keeping him down in the lane. So yeah, that was
That's
a lot of fun.
cool. Cool. You mentioned Deliverance. I'm going to throw in some CanCon out there for people, and also for yourself. Have you seen the movie Rituals? It's like the Canadian ripoff of Deliverance.
I haven't, but I've heard of it, but I have not seen it. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's chill.
I'm sure my producing partner has.
Yeah, there you go. So now that the experience is done, you've directed, you got one in the can. You directed one.
Mhm.
What's the biggest takeaway?
Biggest takeaway is movie making, for me at least,
Mm-hmm.
is about problem solving, and
Mm-hmm.
it's about solving a succession of problems, some of which are small and some of which seem like they're going to be fatal, um, until the movie comes out. I mean, I'm still doing it, like,
Mm-hmm.
and the movie comes out in shortly. So it's for me, it's that, and I think the biggest takeaway from that is to just be okay with that, be okay in the unknown, be okay in the scrambling. Um, a lot of the things that we had to scramble for turned out better because we had to scramble and solve a problem. For instance, this is a small thing. There are many more. For instance, we were on fire watch the whole time because there was forest fires nearby. I mean, obviously we shot this during COVID. Like there's plenty of things that were difficult, but just a small example is there's a great scene, and we are going to release a clip of this too, of Callie, our main character, on the bridge. She's walking on this amazing steel bridge, and looking behind her, thinking that the bad guy is behind her, and ends up in a chase scene on the bridge, and ending at an old theater, closed down theater, very kind of like classic film
Oh yeah.
references. And that was not supposed to happen. That we had to write that scene that day because actually the bad guy was supposed to pull up next to her on a truck, kind of a la Get Out, first scene in Get Out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Guess what? The truck broke down. So we were not able to do that, and it's one of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion, and the most scary. So I think with me and myself and my producing team being able to rewrite that scene in the moment, to have it work with what we had, I think it made it better. So I think it's about, that's my long way of saying my lesson I took away with this is being okay in the kind of chaos, and being okay
Mm-hmm.
with the confidence that you don't know how you're going to solve the problem, but you're going to solve it. So it's somehow.
I guess it's also like a certain amount of openness you're referring to because you're also talking about
Absolutely.
the other actor and how you fit him in more into the story. It's like if it's working and it's right in front of you, you might as well take advantage of that, right?
Absolutely, especially in a movie like this that is more like naturalistic.
Hmm.
People talk the way that people talk in this movie. They don't talk
Yeah.
like it's not stylized in any sort of way. It's just very,
Mm.
I think it's very realistic. So
Mm.
I think, especially in a movie like that, we are already kind of free flowing, and a little bit improvisational. I
Mm.
think it's okay. Like if I'm making like a Yorgos Lanthimos movie where every detail has to be perfect,
Mm.
yes, you wait and you do that. So I think every movie, but I'm sure they're solving problems too, just in a different way. Um,
Okay.
but at least for me, in this kind of freewheeling improvisational type of film, like that's important.
Very interesting. And okay, Zach, it's been a lot of fun talking. It's good. It's a good movie. People should check it out. Float or hashtag float. I still either or. Uh,
Either or.
Final question: how is XY? Do you say Z, XYZ, or Z?
You can say XY is the same thing. I'm
It's the
sure.
same thing.
Yeah, you and Todd,
They've
I'm
been a
sure
good
will
home
say
though.
XYZ, but XYZ films. Sorry, what was the question?
Have they been a good home? They've been good to you.
Incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, they've been, although they acquired the film when it was, in its rough cut, kind of
Mm,
almost finished stage.
mm,
They've known about this film since I was writing it. So
Mm,
I've done things with XYZ. I've sold movies to them. I've been a producer on movies that sell to them. I've
nice.
worked, so it's great to be on this side of it. I mean,
Mm,
James Shapiro, who is the head of distribution at XYZ, has known about this movie since I was writing it.
mm,
He's been supportive since the very beginning. I was out in Austin having cold beer with him and Owen Edgerton, who directed Mercy Black, and others, and they were just so as someone who's making the transition from producer and executive to director.
yeah.
I was wondering if I would face any sort of resistance or, hey, you're the non-creative, like don't come this way. And
Get back in
both
the
James,
office.
both James, yeah, exactly. Both
Yeah.
James and Owen were so supportive, and James would check in, even when I was like shooting the film,
Mm,
how's it going? How's post going? So just super supportive the whole time. Like honestly, like it just feels so natural. It never felt like, okay, now this is a new phase where XYZ is now involved. It just felt like a natural best case scenario for the film. And just the way it's getting out there, like the trailer is incredible.
mm,
Like the word on the street that's getting out there is incredible. Like I'm really excited for the release on December 8th. I think it's going to
mm,
be hopefully it will resonate with people.
mm,
Hopefully as people are hibernating for the winter, they'll want to uh,
mm.
watch something that is in a warmer climb, and just get that kind of like vicarious sunshine through the river. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of a better partner than XYZ Films. They're newer to the distribution game, but I think you're going to be hearing a lot from them. Like they have really great taste and really great practices. So yeah, couldn't be happier.
I agree. They're great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for your time, man.
Yeah, Michael, great seeing you. Hopefully it's not another 4 years before we see each other again. I'll
Yeah,
be up, hopefully I'll be up in Tip one of these days, and we can have a drink.
that'd be fun.
Yeah. Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Michael.